Now, when you think of game designers who always strive to push gameplay in new directions, the name Peter Molyneux always bubbles to the surface thanks to games like Populous, Syndicate, and Black and White 2, which comes out next week here in the U.S. Well, tonight we are truly honored to have Peter join us live via satellite from London, England, the home of Lionhead Studios. Hey, Peter, thanks for joining us. How are you?
Great, thank you very much. It's great to be here. Thank you very much.
Great to have you here. Now, Peter, I want to start off with breaking news in the Nintendo Revolution controller. Now, that was unveiled last week. A few weeks ago, you had this quote where you talked about how never underestimate Nintendo. So I assume you got to see it ahead of time, right?
I mean, we've known rumours about it for a little while, and I can tell you it's a great, great product. And that is exactly what I meant by never underestimate Nintendo. You know, this is a revolution. It's what it's not the hardware of the machine, it's not the speed of the machine, it's the fact that that device will enable games to be made that are like no other have ever been. So
are you already thinking of ideas? You think you're going to do a game for it?
Well, I mean, absolutely, it's so exciting to actually, for the first time, feel that you can move something in a 3D space. I mean, you've got to remember, Jeff, that the controllers that we're currently using now on the other consoles have their origin in platform games. Yep. They have no sympathy for moving around in a 3D world, and that's what makes the revolution so exciting. And yeah, I would love to be doing something.
Well, you sort of did that a little bit with Black and White, where you can sort of trace things out for the spells. So we'll have to see Black and White on Revolution, maybe, right?
Well, I mean, that becomes a real possibility. I'm not saying that it is going to happen, but just imagine with Black and White being able to stroke your creature, being able to slap your creature, being able to cast spells, being able to move around a world in a natural way. I mean, I think all of those things start being really possible with that controller.
So let's talk about Black and White 2, which is coming out here in the U.S. You said you're done with it now. You finally completed it. And this one has a much more sort of an RTS sort of feel to it. The first game, it was a little bit different. Looking back now, do you feel that you wish you sort of would have made the first Black and White more like the sequel?
Absolutely. There's a couple of things that we've done, a couple of really important things that we've done with Black and White 2. The first thing is, just to have some awesome technology. And to put that into a strong gameplay game, and that was the problem with Black and White 1. It's some awesome technology, but where was the game there? And we really wanted to put the game in, so we've actually decided to put two game elements in. Well, the first is what you think of as a God game. Now, you may have thought of a God game as being, dealing with little people and looking after them. Well, we've changed that. Now you get the God game part of this game, the good part of it, is all about creating things, all about you're creating wonderful cities, looking after those people, giving them an environment they like to live in. The more beautiful your city is, the more success you'll have in the game. You can play that game without ever going to war. But what you also have is an RTS element. You can build up your city a little bit and then take all of your population out to war and have these really big battles.
You're always so good at
those two gameplay elements are...
You're always so good at describing your games, Peter. You paint these beautiful pictures. I know one criticism that people sometimes have of your game is that you have these huge promises, and sometimes when the game comes out, you don't necessarily deliver on all the promises. I remember famously with Fable, you had to write your apology letter on the forums. Is that a fair criticism that people, give you?
I think it is. And here's the problem is, I enjoy what I do so much, and I can't help, what it's like, Jeff, I cannot help talking about the games I'm making way before anybody else talks about those games. And what that means is I'm talking enthusiastically about, this feature and that feature that we're considering. And normally, when it comes down to the final cut, you have to cut some things out. But I can promise you this, Black and White 2 is everything that I promised it would be. It is... epic, it's huge battles, it's great cities which you create. And, I'm learning to curb myself a little bit.
Well, you've got, 3 games coming out this fall. You've got Black and White 2, you've got the movies coming out from Activision, and then Fable, The Lost Chapters, the PC version of Fable. Yeah. With 3 games in development, so almost shipping simultaneously, do you ever kind of worry that, you can't devote your full attention to each game individually and they sort of suffer at all?
Well, when this happened at Lionhead, we had the hardest and biggest mountain to climb that we ever have faced. It's bad enough completing 1 game, but completing 3 has been really tricky. But the reason why the 3 have come along together, because at Lionhead, we just keep on developing the game until we're happy with it. And that meant that Black and White 2 had to be delayed a little bit, the movies had to be delayed a little bit, and it meant that they all came together. But I promise you this, they are all fantastic quality games.
Excellent. Well, I also want to ask you about some of the stuff you have coming forward, because as you said, you always first start talking about these games just when you have the original ideas. Now, I met once the little boy Dimitri, who is sort of the basis for your next game. Remember, he was in a hotel room, he was working on his math homework, and he said, Jeff, this is the boy that inspired my next game, Dimitri. Tell us, how did he inspire this idea for this game, and what is it?
Well, I can tell you a little bit. I can't tell you much about Dimitri because it's still a long way off, and especially the last comment I made about being enthusiastic and telling about features that don't exist. But I can tell you this. Dimitri is a game about you. It allows you to relive your life from being a young teen on through over a fairly long time, and to relive your life, to make the same mistakes you made in your life, or to try and correct your life. And that is the inspiration of the game. When I saw Dimitri, when he was 14 and 15 and 16, making those terrible mistakes I made as a kid, you know, personally, I never spoke to a girl until I was 17 years old. I thought they would just laugh at me. And that was a huge mistake because, you know, girls are, you know, I should have spoken to them a lot earlier. And that's the inspiration for the game. It's living a life again. Allowing you to live your life again.
Well, that sounds exciting, Peter. We can't wait to hear more. Thank you so much for joining us, and good luck with all your future projects.